Hey guys, this is Blake. Today I'm going to review Predators. Not an easy movie to review, and I'll explain why a little later. But first, to get the context of things, let's talk about the first few Predator movies. I really love the first one. Everybody does. But I think what makes the first one really cool is that it satirizes the action main character, the action protagonist. Just think about it. The opening act of that movie, they introduced the most over-the-top action heroes possible. They have all the cheesy one-liners, the violent kills. I mean, really, when you think about it, the first act of this movie, it's almost as if it's a typical action film, not a horror film at all. But then the whole joke, to me, is that it pits them against this very dangerous alien that's much better at killing than they are. And what follows is some of the most brutal, intense, and unceremonious deaths seen in these types of movies. I mean, it's almost like you're watching your favorite action heroes get killed off brutally. And I think that's awesome. That's what makes it so frightening, so intense. You'll have a scene where this guy who's shown to be a dignified badass, he's about to face the Predator one-on-one, but before we see the fight, it cuts away and we just hear his blood-curdling scream. Then later on, you see the Predator dragging his corpse, throwing it pretty much on top of the camera, where you see the guy's eyes all bugged out and this grotesque face of death. And then the Predator proceeds to rip out his spine, taking out his skull with it. Damn! I mean, who wants to see that happen to your G.I. Joe? That's really what it is. These characters are all G.I. Joes, but hardcore versions. So that's what made Predator so interesting. None of the sequels follow in these footsteps, which I could see why. You can't really beat Arnold Schwarzenegger in terms of any of that kind of stuff. But Predator 2, I was just lukewarm on it. It had a few good scenes, a few bad scenes, and mostly it was just in the middle. Alien vs. Predator was fine in the context of what it was trying to be, but it wasn't the movie I wanted. The thing with that director, Paul Anderson, it's like he could establish an interesting setup, genre, and tone, but it's always the wrong setup, genre, and tone. I mean, he could do what he's doing well, but it's just not what he should be doing. I mean, Resident Evil, for example, was a decent action film, but it shouldn't have been an action film. It should have been a horror. And that tends to be his main problem with all of his movies. But Alien vs. Predator, like I said, it was messed up because of that, but it was still okay. I enjoyed it. Alien vs. Predator Requiem is considered to be one of the worst movies of all time. I could see why. I don't mind it. I don't like it, but I don't mind it. I think that whenever the aliens or predators showed up, it was a pretty cool bloodbath. The kills are so mean-spirited in that movie that I ended up actually kind of feeling bad for the characters just for that reason. But when it focused on the more character-oriented scenes, it sucked. It sucked really bad. But I don't hate any of these movies, but they're just not very good. It's not like Alien, where at least you had a great sequel after that, a sequel that people tend to be mixed on, which I thought was okay. And then it really didn't start hitting rock bottom until Alien Resurrection. But unfortunately, the Predator movies died fast. So did this one fall in that same category? No, actually I think it ended up being a lot better than all the sequels. Nowhere near as good as the original. But the reason why it's not an easy movie to review is that it's one of those reviews where you're going to spend most of your time explaining what it does wrong, and then just give like one sentence about what it does right. But what it does right is really the most important thing of all. And the most important thing of all is this movie entertained me. But there is a lot of problems with it. For one, the characters. They're all total stereotypes. I mean, the first movie had stereotypes, but those, as I said, that was kind of a satire, so the stereotyping felt like it was intentional and it worked. Here, not so much. The Japanese guy, of course, is going to be a Yakuza who knows how to use like a katana like he's a samurai. The Mexican guy, of course, is going to be a drug cartel enforcer. It just goes on like that. But in the long run, I think it worked out okay because the actors all do so well in the parts. They make the characters interesting. They also make the characters really unpredictable. You never know when one's just going to go batshit crazy on another character because they're all not very nice people. And that made it interesting. I mean, some people I'm sure will see a lot of the twists coming I probably should have, but I didn't, so that was cool for me. But I think the script needed some serious work. I don't know if it was in need of a script doctoring or if it just had an irreparable structure. I mean, the movie starts off, it's real fast-paced and heart-pounding, but then in the middle they come across Lawrence Fishburne. And it's just this small scene, but it's very, very slow-paced. And Lawrence Fishburne does fine, but I thought he was more unintentionally funny than intense. And but it seemed like after that, the movie could never really get back up there again. So I don't know what they could have done. I think that they revealed the fact that it was an alien planet too early. I mean, it looked just like the human Earth jungle, but they pretty much figure out that they're on another planet 20 to 30 minutes into the movie. I think that's how the movie should have ended. Instead of... Because the movie, the ending they have, and I know I'm not spoiling it, but it almost feels like that they don't really know how to end it, so they just do. And I think if they revealed that they were on an alien planet at the very end, that would have been a great way to end things. But they don't. But on the other hand, I think the action scenes were very well staged, very intense and creative. I could have done without all the allusions to the original film. They have a lot of lines that are reminiscent of the first movie, and a lot of the action scenes are very similar to the first one. And a lot of people like these nods, but I don't. When they do too much of that, it starts making me draw comparisons, and this movie just does not compare to the original. Like, for example, Terminator Salvation did this a lot. Think when Arnold Schwarzenegger said, "I'll be back" in the original Terminator, and compare that to when Christian Bale says, "I'll be back" in Terminator Salvation. Arnold made it cool. Christian Bale did not. The fact is, most of these lines, they're not necessarily good. People only like them because the actors make them cool. I mean, seriously, like, "Get to the chopper." That's nothing great. But Arnold just makes it sound so funny and awesome. Now, they actually don't use that line in the movie, thank God. But so I could have used it without the visual comparisons. But it was still, I think, a really hardcore, badass action film. I'd recommend it for fans of the Predator franchise. And if you don't necessarily like the Predator franchise, but like the first movie, I'd recommend it to you for that also. Because, like I said, it is better than all the sequels. I'd recommend it definitely for action films, for fans of gore, and I'd even say for fans of horror, just because there's nothing out there that's horror right now. It's not going to go down as a classic, but it is definitely the best Predator sequel, and I enjoyed it, and I even hope that it does well enough for them to make another sequel. So that's it. If you want to read my full review, please check the link in the description. That is all. So, my name is Marshall Horror. My motto is, if you're going to have cinematic diarrhea, then at least have the decency to wipe.